Welcome back. The activist now added. Jeffery Lewis, the Republican activist on the far right. And next to me, Godfrey Leggett, the Democratic activist. And, of course, Mr. Lewis, also the Precinct 27 chair. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you, sir. Sanctuary cities, before we go, what is wrong with the E-Verify system? What is wrong with asking an employer to make sure that your workers are legal citizens of the U.S.?
Exactly like James said in the previous segment. It's got a lot of holes in it. It's not right. It's not well formed.
Let's say he was right and half of the time it works. Would that not be a better system than what we currently have?
Why don't we just figure out where everybody is? You know, why don't we just do like they did in the old days? If you come into this country, you have to have a sponsor, a visa, you got to get your green card, show where you're going to work. This all happened when people were coming through Ellis Island and coming through New Orleans. We didn't let people sneak across the border. Why do we allow this to happen? And why can't Congress, Republicans and Democrats, sit down and actually come up with something?
Jeffery Lewis, sanctuary cities, is it mean-spirited for people who, by and large, are just simply trying to come to America to have a better life?
It's not mean-spirited. I mean, we're talking about how we implement public policy, okay? So when we get into an issue of, like we're talking about with the E-Verify system, we want policy that's going to be, you know, that's going to work. And we don't need, I agree with Godfrey on this, we don't need to pass policy that's got a lot of holes in it. Okay, so what we want to do is focus on the issue of, say, sanctuary cities and see what are we doing with the immigration policy on the national level that's forcing us into this situation. The problem is that we have agencies like ICE that are catching people and turning them right back, you know, to the border and not prosecuting these guys. I mean, they're just letting them go.
Now this
we've
will
got
wind you up.
We've got to fix our immigration.
We're going to wind up Jeff Lewis with this one, ladies and gentlemen. The United States needs to get out of Libya because of an illegal, impeachable action on the part of the president to make war without declaring it. These are the words of Jeff Lewis this past week. Why? He's working under the War Powers Act.
Okay, let's get some background here. He initially said he was working under the War Powers Act when he said, let's go into Libya. Okay, when the deadline came up past 60 days, he says...
Past 60 days.
On day 60, he says, well, this does not apply under the War Powers Act. I don't know where you guys are getting this. So he changed his statement for his excuse to go in, and now he says we're not under War Powers.
If the Republicans won't...
Hang on. Okay, if he is under War Powers Act, he is in violation because he's not gone to Congress for permission, and Congress has not authorized the use of this force. So at this point, he has 30 days to get out from a week ago, about Friday or so.
Now, is that
but
not a valid argument?
The Republicans have not told him, you must get out now.
That part is correct.
The Congress, that's part of the War
Congress
Powers
has to enforce their will, all right? If the Republicans really want us out of Libya, have them tell the man, we should be out by date certain here.
But that's not what the War Powers Resolution asks. The resolution mandates that the president go and get congressional approval,
and
so they must vote on it.
What remedy does Congress have if he doesn't?
Well, if he doesn't give them the 30 days, they have to force pass a resolution that demands they get out now or be impeached.
Let them do it.
And that is the point we're at, unfortunately.
But they're not going to do it because they don't want us out of Libya either.
No, because it's a politically a very, very dynamic issue. You don't want to go and say, Mr. President, if you don't do this, we're going to impeach you.
Yeah.
They don't have the political life to do that, right?
Global warming, ladies and gentlemen, and we know who we're not talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, whoever that is, I guess I'm talking to you folks out there. We're talking about global warming today, and global warming has become a hot-button issue, so to speak.
Especially with the temperature outside.
Right. All right. Big battle. Rick Santorum going up against former Senator Rick Santorum going up against former Senator and presidential hopeful Mitt Romney. The two battling over whether global warming is a reality or not. We start on the right.
Well, we do have some science questions about whether or not global warming is. We know that there was a lot of evidence that was manufactured in academia for now. Yes, we do.
No, we don't.
But the question of whether or not there's global warming, this always comes up in summer, right?
Right.
So we need to look at and see, if what we're going to do from a policy standpoint makes sense. And we can't just sacrifice economic activity because we think there might be an issue with global warming. Let's see what the science really says.
The scientists have made up their mind. The science, as far as
science made up their mind before they even had the evidence in front of them.
Well, no, they have.
And some of the evidence appeared to have been skewed.
Well, no, all this business about the emails at the Global Warming Center, it doesn't change the dots on the graph. They are going up, 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 up.
If Rick Santorum is to be believed, though, the dots on the graph are odd and skewed by the idea that there's El Nino, there's La Nina, there's moisture in the atmosphere, there are sunspots, there are any number of things that contribute to global climate change.
As far as the scientists that are
don't have
involved in
anything
this,
to do with
Kevin, as far as the scientists that are involved in this, their minds are made up because the data is there.
The data, does that include the El Nino, the La Nina,
yes,
the moisture in the atmosphere, the
yes,
sunspots? So the only thing that science is saying is that CO2 is the sole cause for global climate change.
No, not the sole cause, but it is a large contributor, and it's a self-feeding thing. If you melt the tundra up in Russia, there's going to be CO2 coming up out of that. If you let the temperature change enough in the waters, or if the Gulf Stream goes away, CO2 is going to come up out of the ocean.
You're convinced on this matter?
Oh, absolutely.
Kevin, he's right in that over the last 100 years, the global average temperature has risen. Over the last 20 years, what he fails to mention is that it's actually fallen. So we get a lot of cycles of, from a global standpoint. Now, regionally,
so
you may see hotter temperatures in Texas that stand away from that.
Is the big question.
Yes, the rise has been larger.
Is it man-made, and can man do anything by it? I guess I'm running late on time.
Well,
can man do anything by right now?
We may be past the tipping point where we can't do anything, and we're going to be punished for our inactivity.
Your final thoughts on that?
I really think that we've really beat this issue to the point where we're not going to get anything more substantial out unless we have true data to look at.
We need to listen to science.
We need new science, new data.
No, we need to listen to the scientists.
You guys are great. Great to see you as always. Thanks for being here on Southeast Texas Weekly. We'll see you next time.